In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to make the grains for the field sweater. It's a paid-for pattern, so I won't be giving away all the numbers in the pattern. I'll just be demonstrating in these couple of sections here between the stitch markers of how to make the grains themselves. Now the pattern is knit top down. You will have done some ribbing in the round, then you will have done a knit row and then done a couple of increases, and if you're knitting the sweater, it'll be knit all in the round on a circular needle. I've got a couple of edge stitches here. You won't have any edge stitches. You'll just have sections of grains in 5-stitch sections ready to go. Now I'm knitting it on double pointed needles so that I can demonstrate sliding the work across as if I was just knitting in the round. I'm also using much larger yarn and needles so that you can see it a lot better. So my 2 edge stitches you won't have. I'm really focusing on the stitches in between the stitch markers for how to make the grains, and they're done in sections of 5. Okay, you will be increasing as you go down the sweater, so you'll have more stitches in between these sections as you work down the sweater. Right, so in round 1, just ignoring my edge stitches, your first stitch will be knit 1. Now you have to make the grain. Sorry, I've also got a cable needle as well. You'll need that for collapsing the grains. So now I have to make a grain. To make the grain, you insert the needle, wrap around, pull through, but don't take it off. Do a yarn over, insert the needle again into the stitch, wrap around and pull through. Try to do that reasonably loosely so that it will be easy to get into because on the, in round 3 you're going to have to knit these 3 together, so you don't want them too tight on the needles. So as much as possible, make that reasonably loose. The next section where this middle stitch, which was a yarn over, you knit through the back loop. Then you make a grain again, so insert the needle, wrap around, pull through, but don't take it off. Do a yarn over, and then insert the needle, wrap around, pull through, and now actually take it off and try to make that reasonably loose. And then the next one is knit 1. So that's your first section. Now it's going to look like a lot more than 5 stitches, but you treat these 3 loops on the needles as 1 stitch. That's the grain and that's the other grain. If it helps you to have stitch markers, you'll have a lot of stitch markers on the needles, but if it helps you at least in the early rows to get into the rhythm of the pattern, feel free to do that. So you're going to knit 1, make a grain, so insert the needle, wrap around, pull through, yarn over, insert the needle, wrap around, pull through. So that's a grain, knit the yarn over through the back loop, insert the needle, wrap around, pull through. So I'm making a grain, yarn over, insert the needle, wrap around, pull through. So that's another grain. So you'll see 4 grains in each row as I work it. And then I'm just going to knit my 2 edge stitches just for the purposes of the video so that I'm not making grains right on the end. Okay, so you would be doing that all the way around. I only have a little bit for my work, so I'm just going to have some yarn draped out the back so that I can, like what you would be, the next round is a knit round because you're always, the work's always facing you. You never turn your work. So the next round, I'm just going to knit my 2 edge stitches, which I keep saying that, but I just want you to be aware for your sweater you won't have these edge stitches. So your first stitch would be knit 1, and then you slip the grain purlwise with yarn in back. So all you're doing is you're you're slipping those 3 stitches over to the right needle, not knitting them, not reorienting the stitches, just slipping them. Then you knit 1 through the back loop, slip the next grain. You can slip the stitches one at a time or all together, whatever's easier for you, and then knit 1. And again, knit 1, slip the grain, knit 1 through the back loop, slip the grain, knit 1. And I'll do my 2 edge stitches. Now if you have pointier needles, like if you have a selection of needles, I would recommend using pointier needles for this, because this is where it's going to be helpful for you when you're actually collapsing the grain. So in collapsing the grain, you're also going to be cabling. So the grain will be, the 3 stitches will come to 1 stitch, and you'll be cabling with a stitch next to it. Right, so this is round 3. I'll just get my 2 edge stitches out of the way. Right, so you're at the start of your round 3, you're ready to go. You're going to take your cable needle and you're going to slip the next stitch onto the cable needle and hold in the back of the work. Then you're going to knit the grain together through the front, just like normal, but knit those 3 together. Then you'll knit the stitch on the cable needle. That cable needle out so that you've had collapsed 1 grain. Then you slip that center stitch. Now we're going to put the grain on the cable needle, all 3 stitches, and hold to the front. Knit the stitch on the needle, and now we're going to knit the stitches on the cable needle, but we're going to knit them through the back. So I've got it sort of sitting like this, and the easiest way is to actually just enter from the back like that. You can see that that's quite difficult to get in, so if you can make those grains a little bit loose, wrap around, and let's get that off the needle. It's a little tricky so you don't skewer the stitch. Right, so I've collapsed that grain and it's going in the other direction because I've knit it through the back loop. So this one's going to go this direction, this one's going to go this direction. So I'll repeat that again for the next section. All right, one more time for the next little group of 5, and you can see that it's come back to 5 stitches, 2, 4, 5. Insert the cable needle and hold that 1 stitch to the back. Knit those 3 through the front. This yarn's a little bit hairy, so it's a little bit challenging, but knit those through the front. Then because I've got these yarn hanging off the back because I'm knitting on double pointed needles. Knit that one on the cable needle, put the cable needle down, knit the center stitch through the back loop. Actually, sorry, no, we don't knit the center stitch through the back loop, we slip the center stitch. I hope I did slip that one. Yes, I did slip it. Slip the center stitch. Let me just check that. Yes, I did. Did I knit it or did I slip it? Yeah, I slipped it. Okay, just checking. On round 3, when you're collapsing the grains, you don't knit that center stitch, you slip it. Then the last little bit, you put the 3 stitches from the grain onto the cable needle, bring to the front, knit that stitch as normal. This one's knit through the front loop, but then now you knit these grains through the back loop. Wrap around and pull through. Okay, and then I'll just knit my 2 edge stitches. So it's a 4-row repeat. So I've done 4-round repeat, I should say. I've done 3 rounds. Now I'm going to knit the 4th round, and in this one we knit that center stitch that we slipped. This time we actually knit it through the back loop and then knit 2. So I'll just get my 2 edge stitches out of the way. Right, now up to the repeat, knit 2, I did slip it, yes I did, good. Now I actually knit it through the back loop. So that stitch was slipped on the round 3, but we actually knit it through the back loop on round 4 and then knit 2. And same thing for the next section, knit 2, knit the center stitch through the back loop, knit 2, and I'll just knit my 2 edge stitches. So ignore the messy bits on the end. You've got a grain, you've got your center stitch, which is generally twisted, or here it's been slipped and then knit through the back loop. So that's a twisted column in the middle. And then you've got your grains coming out. That's why this grain is knit through the front loop and this one's knit through the back loop, so that it will angle this way. Now, that's the 4 rows that have been done. And then you'll have another 4 rows of making row 5, you'll make a grain, row 6, more slipping, row 7, you'll collapse the grain, row 8, more slipping. But what you'll notice in round 5 in the pattern is that you've got this extra yarn over at the start of each section. And what that is doing is it's increasing your stitch count. So now you're going to have, instead of 5 stitches in the grain, repeat, you'll have 6. So I'll just show you what that looks like, and that's going to keep increasing throughout the pattern so that your yoke numbers increase and you increase in size as you go down your body. So I'll just do my 2 edge stitches and then I'll show you the pattern. Says yarn over, knit 1, make a grain, slip the next stitch purlwise with yarn in back, make a grain, knit 1. So you've actually got 6 stitches here. I know that you've got this, looks like 3, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because on round 7 you'll collapse those grains. But the yarn over is creating an extra stitch for just, increasing the size of the sweater, and that will get incorporated into the grain stitches. But you're still only going to have 2 grains in between each section. So I'll just do that one more time for this section. Like I'll get up to round 7, I think. I mean, you can switch me off at any time, but if it helps, I'll get up to round 7. So yarn over, knit 1, make the grain, slip the next stitch, make the grain, knit 1. I'm just doing my edge stitches again. Okay, it's getting very messy on the ends. I'll do that was round 5. So I'll do round 6 now. In round 6, so just get my 2 edge ones out of the way. Right. Round 6, you're going to knit the yarn over through the back loop. So the increase happens with a yarn over, which then gets knit through the back loop to so you don't have a hole. So you knit that through the back loop, then knit 1. Similar to round 2, you slip the grain purlwise, then you knit the center stitch through the back loop, slip the grain purlwise, knit a stitch, knit the yarn over through the back loop, knit 1, slip the grain purlwise, knit 1 through the back loop, that's that center stitch, slip the grain purlwise, knit 1. All right, getting to round 7 where I'll collapse those grains. This is a dog's breakfast of yarn at the back, but hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So previously, when we only had 5 stitches, we went straight into the cable needle. Now we're not going to. We've got to knit that first stitch, and then now we're going to put this on the cable needle and hold to the back, knit the grain, And the first one we knit through the front. Then we knit the stitch on the cable needle. And then we slip that center stitch on this round. Then we hold the grain in the front on the cable needle. Knit this stitch. Just put that off so it doesn't go flying. I'll put it back on in a sec. And then knit that grain through the back loop. Okay. Put that stitch back on. I'll do one more. So we're just going to knit that first one. That was the increased stitch. Then slip the first stitch and hold to the back. Oh, get it off the needle, hold to the back. Knit those three through the grain through the front. Knit the stitch on the cable needle. Slip that center stitch. Put the grain to the front. If you're putting the grain on the cable needle, it's always coming to the front. That's the thing you want prominent, not hidden in the back. Knit one. And then take that off. Knit that through the back loop. Sorry, knit the grain through the back loop if we can get it. Okay, and I'll just finish off those two edge stitches. And we'll take a look at where we're at. That's not fit. There's one more round to complete the whole. There should be a round 8 as well, or there is a round 8, which just involves knitting that back stitch. Okay, so let's ignore these messy end bits. And it doesn't look as good as it would in the actual pattern because obviously using a much bulkier yarn and not the yarn that I would use for this pattern. But I'd just like you to be able to see what's in the center. I'll put this so you can see. So ignoring the bits on the outside of the stitch markers, what you've got is a center stitch, which if you're making a grain, you're slipping the center. If you're not doing anything with the grain, you're actually knitting it through the back loop. So that's running in the center. And then you've got the grains coming out either side, and you will be increasing, just following the pattern. There'll be some stitches increasing so that, like right now, I've got 6. In round 9, you're actually increasing from 6 stitches for each section for the grain to 8 stitches, and so on. I'm not going to give any more of the pattern away in terms of where the increases fall and what the numbers are, because it is a paid for pattern, but I just wanted you to be able to see how the grains are constructed and how they're collapsed. And it's done over 4 row sections. So that's the small grains. There's also larger grains, and that just involves more stitches, but it's the same idea. I hope that video helped.